evening, St. Thomas. This is Myrtle and Agnes here in the crunchy kitchen. The high today is 90 degrees, but now we're more serious.
A recent friend of mine's daughter was diagnosed with achondroplasia, which is tonight's big story. Hello, I'm Myrtle.
And I'm Agnes, and we're here today to talk to you about achondroplasia.
Achondroplasia is often referred as dwarfism.
Achondroplasia is a disorder of bone growth which causes bones to be smaller than normal.
Achondroplasia happens in a mutation of genes, which is why it's called a genetic disorder.
It affects all ethnic groups, 77,000 newborns in Denmark and 10,000 newborns in Latin America, to be specific.
Coming to you is a picture of a newborn with achondroplasia. People with achondroplasia have normal intelligence but rarely reach the height of 5 feet.
The prognosis depends on the severity of a disease. Infants often die soon after birth due to respiratory problems.
Living with this dwarfism is similar to our lives. The only thing that is different is smaller counters and lower toilets. Also lifted pedals, but they can still drive and do day-to-day things. Caring for a newborn is very serious. You can't put them in jelly jumpers or carry them like a baby due to the lack of bone structure. The symptoms of this disorder are short stature, crowding of teeth, and significantly below average of age and sex. Short arms, legs, especially upper arms and thighs in comparison to body height. Short fingers, the ring and the middle finger may point away from each other. Undeveloped mid-region between forehead and upper jaw. Back to you, Agnes.
Thanks, Myrtle. Now talking to you about the diagnosis of achondroplasia. Radiographs, clinical evolution, testing on the molecular gene FGFR3, which stands for fibroblast growth factor receptor number 3. For mutations, testing for spinal stenosis, testing for strength of bladder can lead to diagnosis of achondroplasia.
Sadly, there is no real treatment, but there are treatments such as hormonal injections that slowly increase the height, also leg lifting. Both are not recommended. Shout out to Big Nick who suffers from dwarfism.
Coming to you in moments is a picture of a pedigree for achondroplasia. It's an autosomal dominant trait. The circles are females and the squares are males. The shaded are the ones affected with achondroplasia. The next picture is a Punnett square showing a 50-50 split with a heterozygous and recessive parent. Both parents being recessive, the child will receive achondroplasia.
Some famous people such as Jennifer Arnold and many of you live with achondroplasia. Jennifer Arnold was born with dwarfism in Houston, Texas. She married Bill Klein, who was also a dwarfism. They tried to have a baby, but resulted in a miscarriage. They decided to adopt a boy from China, Will, and a girl from India, Zoe. Mini-Me. His real name is Veneer Troyer, born in Sturgis, Michigan. He starred in Austin Powers movies as Dr. Evil Clone. He has 2 siblings, neither have this disorder.
Achondroplasia not only affects the bones, it affects other body structures. The brain is affected by this genetic disorder. Hydrocephalus is water on the brain. Its excessive cerebrospinal fluid is within the cranium. This may cause swelling, enlargement of head and skull. The symptoms are headaches, irritability, lethargy, and vomiting.
Some of the treatments and the surgery are draining of the fluids. Wrapping up tonight's segment is an interview with our friend whose recently baby was diagnosed with achondroplasia.
Good night.
Hi, we are here with Chanel and her baby Coco, here to interview her. Thank you for having us in your house.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Do you mind if I asked you a couple questions about your baby Coco?
Sure. Ask as many as you like.
When did you realize your baby wasn't functioning like it was supposed to?
Well, I've had 2 older children, Hannah and Jeffrey, and I noticed that she wasn't developing like they were. She hasn't started to crawl or anything. Her motor skills were late. She was just very different from my past 2 children.
How do you care for your baby?
It's really, really hard. I try to be as gentle with her as possible because I know she's so little, and I can't. As she gets older, I can't put her in those jumpy things, and I can't cradle her in my arms. So it's just really, really hard. I had to get a guide to look how to care for a achondroplasia baby, and it's just been really stressful.
Is your husband a carrier of achondroplasia?
Actually, I'm the carrier because not my mom, but her mom was a dwarf. And as you know, it can skip generations. So I don't have dwarfism, but I have the recessive trait.
Okay. What are your biggest concerns?
My biggest concerns for when she gets older, and we all have dreams and hopes, and maybe she wants to be a model, but models aren't short. Maybe she wants to be in the Olympics. They have the Paralympics, but it will never be the same. And I just want her to be able to not use her disorder as a crutch because we're all human and we all want to have certain things we want to do in our lives.
I understand. What do you do for a living to support the treatments?
Actually, I'm a model because I'm fairly tall, but I try to do awareness and fundraisers to get as much money as possible because going back and forth with the doctor is gas money. I have 2 older children, husband's out of town most of the time, so I just try to raise awareness with fundraisers and stuff at my kids' school.
Okay. How has this changed your life?
It's changed my life because I can't work long hours as much as I used to because I have a baby who is smaller than everybody else. And I had to do a lot of research because I knew nothing about it until, my grandmother had it, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But it always close to heart when your children have it. So I've been doing a lot of research. I'm starting to think about remodeling the houses as she gets older because the countertops are for us, like our height, not for little bitty babies.
How do your children react to her?
Hannah, who is 16, she's mature. She knows what's going on. We've talked about it. She's okay. Jeffrey's 5. He's confused. He's a little boy, and he's not supposed to understand all of what's going on right now. So my children are doing pretty good, but it all comes in time with explaining and stuff as she gets older.
Are there any specific treatments that she goes through?
I'm not into hormonal injections to make her taller, and I'm not into surgeries to make her legs longer because she's a baby and she's my little girl, and I don't want her to have to go through all that because I want her to live her life how she wants to. Sure, when she gets 16 around the house, do what you like, but since you're a child, just have fun and don't use her disorder as a crutch.
When she goes to school, will you put her into a specific class or are you going to put her in a normal class?
See, some parents might think, yeah, maybe you should put your daughter where she fits in, but that's not the real world, and I don't believe that because she's going to have to walk around and do what she wants to do. She's going to have to go to the store. Yeah, maybe with some help, but I'm not going to put my daughter in a sheltered environment when I know that's not the world. Not everybody's a dwarf. I'm not a dwarf. So, no, I'm putting her in normal school.
Well, the Crunchy Kitchen TV show would like to reward you with helping you remodel your house for her with $5,000.
Well, that is very sweet. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for this interview. Back to you, Agnes.